contract. They both start off as contracts. In an assignment, you have the contract where one of the parties, probably the person with the obligation, the obligor, like the person who's gonna do the cleaning, the person who's gonna do the driving, the person who's wants to get out of that contract, and they turn around and they find someone to substitute for them. So what they do is they turn around and they find someone to substitute to do the work for them, and that person becomes the assignee. So the person who is obligated, let's say the person who is obligated to clean, now is the assignor, and he assigns his rights to the assignee, and the assignee now is obligated to perform the contract, okay? So you have a triangle. The assignee is the one who notifies the other party of the assignment, okay? And in this triangle, the assignor remains, this is the important part of the assignment, is that the assignor remains on the contract as the guarantor of the contract, which means if there's a problem with the contract, with the performance, they can still go after him.
Is that the examples you gave, like the cleaners and the A, B, and?
Yep. So if there's a problem with the cleaning, they can still go back to the original person and sue them and to enforce it. Now, the types of contracts that you can't assign are personal service contracts, right? Like someone to sing, someone to an artist, and contracts that specifically state this contract cannot be assigned. So those are the two types. Now in novation, if you take the same situation, the obligor doesn't want to be involved in the contract anymore. So what happens is he now goes, the obligor goes to the other party and says, I want to get out of the contract, but I have someone I'd like to substitute. And I would like you to agree to the substitution and basically enter into another contract with this other party and let me out of it. That's a novation.
There's only two parties involved.
Right, you get rid of the third one,
Right.
and they're not obligated any longer. That's the key difference. When must an assignment be in writing? When the original contract is in writing. They follow. Which transaction involves a guarantor? The assignment. Name three methods that a contract can be discharged or terminated. Termination by agreement, where the parties agree. Termination by performance, meaning you did everything you were supposed to do. Substantial performance, which is an odd one because you either do it or you don't do it, but I suppose if you get to 98% and the other person's just aggravated enough, he says, okay, just go. Tender of performance. Tender means offer. So that means, for example, we're in here now doing this, and let's say here at this school, every Saturday morning, the cleaners would come through to clean the building. So we're in here now, and the cleaners come, and they're standing at the door, and they're ready to come in now and clean the room. But we're not gonna let them in. So they're ready, willing, and able to perform the contract, but we don't let that. It means they're there, they're tendering, they're offering their performance, okay? So you say, I'm sorry, we're using the room, we can't have you clean now. So they go away, they get paid, because they were here, ready, willing, able, and they offered. So tender, that's tender of performance. Termination by impossibility, variance, the law changed, something happened that the contract could not be done. Death in a personal service contract, you contract with an artist, the artist dies, that's the end of it. And termination by operational law, the law changed. What was legal yesterday isn't legal today, so that would terminate the contract. 3 ways to breach a contract. Anticipatory breach, which anticipatory means ahead of time. Tell a person ahead of time. Breach resulting from a deliberate or negligent act. You order a truckload of ice cream and they send it to you in an unrefrigerated truck. That would be a deliberate act, right? No, you don't think so?
I mean, I guess that would be pretty.
Well, it's a deliberate act. Or you order flowers and they send them in by air and they don't properly, keep them moist, and then they come in, they're all wilted, and they know you're getting it from a reliable source. So that would be a deliberate act.
Nice.
Failure to perform an obligation, they just don't show up. Just a side note, with anticipatory breach, Once the person tells you that they're not going to fulfill the contract, in all cases except one, you can at that point sue, so for relief. The only situation where you have to wait until the time comes and passes is where money is owed. If the person says to you, I'm not going to pay the debt on January 1st, and they tell you on December 15th, you have to wait until January 1st comes and goes, and then you can. The remedies, there's different remedies for different problems. When the buyer refuses to accept or refuses to pay, the buyer is insolvent, the wrong amount is delivered, the goods are not as ordered, the seller fails to deliver. So there's different remedies. Where the buyer refuses to accept, you could try to sell them and mitigate the damage and sue for the difference if you were able to mitigate, or sue for the purchase price or your profit. If he refuses to pay, you could ask the court, you could sue for the full purchase price or sue to get your goods back if that was a possibility. The buyer's insolvent and you're really up the creek. You're gonna just get in line in bankruptcy, unless there was a way that you could pull it back. Like the truck's on the way to be delivered, and you tell them to come back. The wrong quantity, if it's too many, they accept what you want, and send back the rest. If it's too little, you can accept it as long as you can still use them. You didn't need that 100, you can deal with 80, If they're not, if they don't come as ordered, well, then you just don't accept them and you could sue for your lost profit. The difference between personal and real property. Personal property is movable and portable, real property is attached. The name of the document that a carrier prepares for goods to be shipped, which is similar to an air bill, is a bill of lading. The difference between a bill of lading and a warehouse receipt: a bill of lading is a travel document. And it's a receipt for goods that are being shipped from one point to another, while a warehouse receipt is a receipt for goods that are being stored. A straight bill of lading is the most common, and they're not negotiable. It's simply a receipt. If you're familiar with air bills, then that's what a straight bill of lading is. It has the name of the shipper, the name of the receiver, the name of the common carrier, and the name of the goods that are being shipped. What is an order bill of lading? An order bill of lading is also a shipping document, but it also has title. So you can negotiate. It's a negotiable document. You can, whoever has it owns the goods. The two types of warehouse receipts are the non-negotiable and negotiable. The difference being that the non-negotiable is just a simple receipt for goods, while the negotiable also acts as a title document. What type of sale specifies conditions that must be met by one of the parties? A conditional sale. So you have two types. You have a condition precedent, where there's a condition that must be placed on the sales contract before title passes. All right, before title passes. Do you want a break?
Sorry, I just need to run to the restroom. I
Oh,
don't
we
mean to
can break.
interrupt. If you want to take a break, that
Okay.
works for me.